Good afternoon, Mark.
Hello.
Thank you very much for joining us, and of course you're going to be speaking later on today. Perhaps if you could tell us a little bit more about what you'll be speaking about.
Okay. I'll be speaking about the Load Effects Assessment Program. It's a piece of kit that the Marine Corps developed looking back at what Marines have been doing in Iraq and Afghanistan, those physically demanding tasks, and we've taken those and replicated them to quantify mobility. And so what I'll show today is some data that reflects that we've actually been able to look at the Marines' burden in terms of bulk, stiffness, and weight, and what those impacts are.
So what are some of the findings been?
Some of the findings have been that the course, it doesn't favor stature at all of a Marine, so a short person has just as much capability on the course as a tall person. We've been able to see some key indicators of stiffness limiting mobility in certain areas of the course. We've been able to quantify that weight is only a portion of it, that the bulk and stiffness are critical factors that have to be addressed. And in certain instances, the bulk factor becomes a very big issue for the Marines.
So what are some of the changes then that you're going to be bringing in as a result of this study?
This is our first step in the study, so we still have some additional work to do to really tease out the weight, stiffness, and bulk issues. But it's given us a good look at the flexibility of our body armor without even having the plates in, of looking at the cut of the body armor, the amount of thickness of the flexible body armor that we have, and what that's actually doing to us in terms of mobility. And I think we can actually put a quantifiable metric of when we add a new piece of gear, how much does it hurt his mobility as part of the total system.
So you now actually have a proper sort of scientific way of looking at things like flexibility and mobility and how this will impact the soldier at a quantifiable number.
Correct.
So what's the timeline for this whole project?
Well, this was our first step. Over this year, we'll be doing some additional trials with Marines. We're also going to take some prototypes of our next generation body armor and start to evaluate what are the strengths and weaknesses in terms of mobility for those systems.
And when are you looking, do you think, to roll out those new systems?
Those systems are scheduled to roll out in the late 2014, 2015 timeframe. So they'll utilize the Load Effects Assessment Program as one of the quantifiers of how well the systems do.
So how are you factoring in other elements? So obviously lightening the load has been a big issue as always, but there's also the discussion of modularity and reducing battery weight and such like. And those concerns must affect the work that you're doing.
Right. Well, we look at it as reducing the burden and reducing the burden at the system level. So anytime we add a power device, whether it's centralized power or decentralized power, those things, we can use the Load Effects Assessment Program to see, okay, did we positively or negatively impact a Marine's mobility?
Well, thank you very much for speaking with us. It's really interesting stuff, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing from you later on today.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers.